I'd like to call this meeting to order. A roll call has been taken. Commission members present are Pete Shalecki, Brandon Hyde, Doug Lee, and Richard Morrell, and welcome Christopher Seeley to our group. You will not be voting on today's hearing because you weren't at the sidewalk. Approval of minutes for October 5th. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion on the table. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Pete, aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Approval is passed. Approval of meeting minutes for October 16th, the sidewalk special meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion on the table. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Pete, aye.
Rick, aye. Unanimous. Approval approved. Minutes approved. Communication.
I don't have anything for you tonight.
Public hearing, IWWCC number 2205M, 145 Tackle Ockham Road, 432 Canterbury Turnpike, and 180 Lawler Lane is now open.
Need a motion. You need a motion to open the public hearing.
I moved to, Brandon has moved to
Go into public hearing.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Pete, aye.
Unanimous. So approved. Dan?
We have the engineer for the applicant tonight. If you could just state your name.
Sure. Good evening. My name is Jeff Ford, professional engineer in the state of Connecticut with Polar Engineering, here on behalf of NCDC. With me here tonight is Henry Resnikoff representing NCDC, and then Brian Carey, our certified soil scientist, is online as well. I can give you guys a brief overview if you wanted to pull up the overall site map, especially for Chris, so I know didn't have the benefit of the first hearing. As you recall, we were before this commission last year or earlier this year for the approval of 7,700 linear feet of roadway spanning east to west from Route 97 to Lawler Lane. As part of that process, we went through, coordinated with engineering, did the stormwater consistent with the 2004 Connecticut Stormwater Quality Manual, had ENS measures in place consistent with the ENS guidelines, and received approval from this committee back then. We're here before you tonight amending that application, and there was just a couple of areas that Dan had highlighted over here. We had highlighted in white when we made this the resubmission here, and the changes that took place are only limited to the end or the terminus where Lawler Lane and the proposed road intersect, and basically what that is a new driveway location that spans a narrow portion of the wetlands. There we go. So I'll explain at least a piece of it. So that area you see in red, that brown shaded area, there's an additional 3,600 square feet of clear cutting in the upland review area. There are no direct impacts. And in fact, we had a landscape architect take a look at what was within that area right off the side of the roadway there. There's less than 3 trees, less than 8 inches in diameter, all of which are currently being choked out by invasive species and are over top of the existing power lines. So we felt it'd actually be a benefit, not only from a sightline standpoint and safety, but also the clearing would just be removing a couple trees that are prone to fall anyways over the next few years. Additionally, if you go back to the overall master plan, the only other change beside that 3,600 square feet on the entirety of the roadway was just one driveway right between the 2 basins that lead out to building number 10. You could see there's a new driveway that basically crosses the narrowest point of the wetlands there, similar to what we did for building 12 and lot 5 over on the right-hand side. So it'll be a small crossing that gets designed as part of that design process once an end user is selected. Other than those 2 things, the rest of the road stayed the same. The only difference besides that we did for this plan If you recall, that building 11 that's there, this is an older master plan. That building number 11 in the bottom left corner on Lawler Lane has been completely eliminated. So we presented that to CCP, and that's being dedicated back to the city as open space, and it just consists of upland area and some wetlands. And that basically runs adjacent to I-395 is where that's located. So there's no longer a building that's being shown there. Those are the three major, I guess, minor changes that we're making to the original approved set. So nothing from Lawler Lane to the east back to Route 97. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you guys have for me.
So there was only 3 trees over
Yeah.
8-inch caliber.
Yep, less than it's less than or equal to 8 inches.
Okay.
From what we saw.
And how are you going to go through the wetland area? Was that building 10, did you say?
Yep, for building 10. So we proposed on the other 2 sites that got approved a box culvert. And ultimately, when we do get to designing that driveway, we'll have to submit structural details and come up with means and methods on how to build that and put it in place. But there'll be no direct impacts even then, just temporary to install the culvert itself.
And that would come back before.
Correct.
Right.
And no other changes besides that. It was all the stormwater for the entirety of the roadway stayed the same and was fully vetted by city staff.
Any questions from the commission members? Square footage again?
3,600 approximately.
Could you zoom in on that other plan?
And basically what you're seeing here is if you extended that silt fence, that line with the SF going straight up, once it hits the road on Lawler, that coincides with the sight line distance that's required for safety on somebody free flowing on Lawler Lane.
Yeah, it's a little curvy there.
Correct. With a stop control on our street. Correct.
Which is what dictated this change.
Correct. Correct. And then that's when we went out and looked at what would be coming out as part of that clearing to see what impacts it would have. And that's when we made those notes that I mentioned earlier.
You said staff looked through the plans, or it got bounced, all appropriate.
Everything else is the same.
Everything else is the same, so
Yeah.
just this.
In the grand scheme, it's
Just back. Yeah, okay. I'm comfortable with it. Is there anyone from the public that wants to make a comment?
there's no.
In that case,
Before we close it, I'll just go through my memo real quick. Well, first here is the exhibit list that I'll provide to the clerk. I'd ask just to waive the reading of that. It'll be in the video and in the record. And then my memo is very brief. There was comments from the city engineer in a memo dated 10/20. I don't know if you want to address any of those here tonight. I can bring them back up.
I mean, we certainly can. I think a lot of it, there was planning comments, then there was engineering comments.
Yeah.
All of which were relatively minor. We added, a lot of people had comments on the cover sheet. We made some changes. There were several notes associated with the ramps, on and off ramps. The engineering changes we made, there was 2 inlets that were asked to be converted to flared end sections. We made those changes. So the current set and the revised set came in. And then we issued a formal response to comment letter in that exchange tonight that addresses basically everything in the plan. But no substantive changes to any of the engineering design on that.
So we got the revised plans tonight when they came in, so. And then my other things are just saying that the approval letters will go on the plan sets. This approval tonight is regarding your report to the CCP for the subdivision, which will be forwarded to them. And then this approval letter will go on that subdivision sheet, should it be approved later this month. And I'd ask to waive the reading of these as usual. If someone does make a motion to approve it, please include the notes from my memo. And the reason for the record would be the proposed ENS controller is sufficient to protect the wetlands located throughout the project. That's all I have.
So is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So one question, you just received a set of plans tonight, but they addressed everything that you wanted to without.
Yeah, we've been in communication back and forth because the subdivision application is concurrent. They're waiting on your approval.
Sure.
So we've had revised plan sets going back and forth.
Good.
So I'm confident, and plus it's in here, so
Make sure the
yes,
flow is there. Thank you.
absolutely.
Is there a motion on the table?
I move to close public hearing.
For a second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous, so. There a motion to approve IWWCC number 2205M with all of staff's recommendations.
And say I move to approve IWWCC 22 F05M, included to be the submittal list as submitted by Dan, as well as Dan's notes from his memo included.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do you have a reason?
To include them.
No, a reason.
The last reason.
Erosion control, erosion sediment control.
You want to bring that to memo back up?
But you'd address the erosion in the
The
memo.
Sufficient to protect wetlands.
I thought that was included in the memo, so I didn't figure it. Okay. As proposed, erosion sediment controls are sufficient to protect the wetlands located throughout the project, as noted in the notes from Dan.
thank you.
You're welcome.
So I'll give you the second again.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous, so moved.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you very much.
Have a good evening.
Sorry, I thought that was included in this.
IWWCC number 23-05, 0 Myrtle Drive.
Sure. We have Dave McKay from Boundaries here. Just give these guys a minute. Clear out. He's gonna.
If we could start on sheet 2 of the site plan. So I'm gonna close what we don't need to make this. So we'll start on page 2.
Yes.
everybody.
Thank you.
Copy all of this. Actually, that's pretty well there. Good evening, my name is David McKay with Boundaries LLC. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Sammy P. Inc. and the property owner, Sammy Petrowski. Our proposal is for the development of 0 Myrtle Drive with 2 commercial pad sites for future commercial development. Right now, the goal of this project is just to prepare this property to be usable for a undetermined future commercial use. On the sheet here is our topographic survey, and there are 4 wetland areas on this overall property. One of them is located in Franklin. We have no activity within the upland review area of that wetland system that is adjacent to Elisha Brook. We also have a wetland area down right under where it says subject property in the city of Norwich. That area does contain a vernal pool. We are outside of the 100-foot upland review area of that wetlands with all of our activity, and we have followed Army Corps of Engineer best management practices to protect that vernal pool. In the center of the property, we have an intermittent water course that starts at the drainage discharge from Myrtle Drive and ends in an isolated wetland area located right to the east of the town of Franklin and city of Norwich town line. And then on the northerly property line in the sewer easement, there's another wetland area which we're maintaining a 50-foot buffer to. Now we can skip down to sheet 6, I believe, and that. Oh, actually, this is it right here, sheet 5. This is our overall site development plan. You can see proposed access driveway starting right at the end of Dominican Drive where FedEx is located. Our smaller 1.4-acre pad site directly behind the FedEx building, right at the top of the driveway, and then the larger 4-acre St. Jude Commons development. When we had our site walk in October, we started at the cul-de-sac at the end of Myrtle Drive, walked down the path of the proposed access driveway over to the intermittent water course in the middle of the site, down to the isolated wetland area along the town of Franklin, city of Norwich town line. And you can see that area is proposed to be filled as part of this development, filling that isolated wetland and also relocating approximately 400 feet of that intermittent water course into a riprap drainage swale that will divert the drainage discharge from Myrtle Drive around the commercial pad site to the northern portion of the property. Stormwater management on this property is proposed to be provided with 3 stormwater basins, one well outside the upland review area at the end of Dominican Drive for the smaller pad site and upper portion of the access driveway, and then 2 stormwater basins right on the city of Norwich and town of Franklin town line that'll collect the remaining runoff from the proposed development site and the upper contributing areas that aren't diverted in our proposed riprap drainage swale.
Could you point out where they are?
Right at the limit there, you have the stormwater basin 3 and stormwater basin 2.
Okay.
Those we walked into the area in between the 2, which is where the wetland series that's proposed to be filled is located.
Right.
So those stormwater basins are both proposed to be constructed stormwater wetlands. They have drainage swales running down the slope that'll take all runoff from the proposed gravel surface to each end of the stormwater basin, where there's a sediment forebay sized for the 25% water quality volume. And then the water will flow into the stormwater basin itself, which is proposed with a variety of depths to support a variety of different wetland species to enhance the treatment that these basins would provide before they discharge. And that discharge point is where drainage would continue to run during existing conditions if in larger storm events when that wetland system fills up right there, and then continues on to other property of the applicant in the town of Franklin. So generally maintaining the existing drainage patterns. And then the other stormwater feature that we have proposed is specific to maintaining the hydrology of the vernal pool. So on the south side of our access driveway, we have a grass swale proposed for a portion of the driveway with the volume calculated specifically to maintain that hydrology during the 2, 10, 25, and 100-year storm events to the vernal pool to ensure that even though we're doing grading, upgrading of that vernal pool, that the modifications we're making aren't going to change the surface water that gets there. And then also our under drain system along the edge of the road will discharge to that same swale and continue to the vernal pool, so maintain that groundwater hydrology as well. That's the overall view of our project area. The other large aspect of this is erosion controls. If we scroll down to sheet 11, we have a series of staging plans for how we're proposing to develop the project. Here we go.
Load.
So the gray hatched areas on each view are where grading won't be occurring concurrently. So the first step for the project is going to be to clear the site, proposed total of 18.6 acres of clearing, and then use the grindings from the wood that's been logged to create a series of wood chip berms parallel to the existing grades, working its way up the slope to the top of our site. Then after that work's completed, we'll have initial grading to construct our diversion swale and our temporary sediment trap at the end of the access driveway. And from there, begin the bulk earthwork to create the access driveway to get down to the pad site. Once that area has been rough graded and the slope stabilized, we'll move to the next stage, which is creating the stormwater basin 2 and southern half of the pad site. All the fill needed for this project is generated on site through the cut to create the access driveway. Then once that area has been filled and stabilized, with erosion controls being adjusted as that grading continues, move on to the northern portion of the pad site, starting with the stormwater basin and upgrading erosion control measure, and then the creation of the level pad area. And then finally, after the driveway and the 4-acre pad site and all the slopes are in place, will be the last step. We'll be finalizing the grades of the smaller 1.4-acre pad site. If you just scroll down to the bottom of the page, there's a little window that shows as we're working out of the site, finalizing with that area. That's the general overview of the project. Be happy to answer any questions or go into specifics.
All of the fill is from on-site.
Yes, it's a balanced site. And there's a lot of boulders and surface rock there, and that's proposed to be crushed and used for the gravel surface.
And what other protections are going to be made for the vernal pool for future? Is that property? You know, what's going to happen with the rest of that property?
If you scroll back up to one of the overall viewpoints, that actually covers my work there. So the standards that this plan follows are no disturbance within 100 feet of the vernal pool, a wildlife deflector fence between the vernal pool and our work area. That's going to be along the limit of clearing, starting at the end of the driveway and running down to the bottom of the stormwater basin here. That's this line here.
Okay.
And that deflector is going to prevent any of the critters that use the vernal pool from getting into the construction area, and then afterwards the commercial area or the stormwater basins. And then the last aspect of the vernal pool best management practices is maintaining 75% of the existing forest canopy within a 750-foot radius of that vernal pool. So this development here puts that at 75%. So there really is no other potential development that could happen on this property without then exceed that threshold. So this pad site here is about all they're going to get.
What material are you using for that deflector fence?
There's a couple options specified. They could either fabricate their own with 18-inch diameter HDPE pipe. Basically would cut that into half sections and then embed that in the soil and put those end to end through the project area for a continuous deflector. And then alternatively, there's a manufacturer, ACO Wildlife, who provides a very similar plastic arch that is the same thing. You embed it into the soil.
And those would be permanent.
Yes, those are permanent features.
Wrapping my head around the project, there's a lot to look at, right? If you haven't been looking at it for months. You had mentioned an area that you were within 50 foot
Yes.
of the wetland area. Where was that?
That is right on the right-hand side of the screen there. There's a wetland area that the existing sewer runs through. You can see the gray dashed line.
Yeah.
That's kind of thick. That's the limit of the 100-foot upland review area of that wetland that extends onto the property. So the closest our clearing is 50 feet right there. Yep.
Clearings there. All right. And then there's a steep drop, right? That's a from the proposed pad. So
Yes. Yeah. All of our slopes are proposed at 3-to-1 max.
Okay.
So everything that shows the contour lines closer together, they're 3-to-1 max.
Okay. I know from the past, whenever there's something this close to another town line, within what 500 feet, do we have to get feedback from?
Yeah, it's been referred and we haven't heard any comments back.
Because we usually haven't voted until we had that, is that correct?
Sorry?
We usually wait for feedback from the other towns, is that correct? Or,
I would just say you've had a long time.
Right.
It's been referred
sure,
and I've reached out to their planner through the COG.
Okay.
And asked, and I don't have anything back.
okay, so it's not going through their wetlands commission, obviously, because there's no development on their site. And so you've reached out over what period of time? Yeah, a couple months and.
Yeah, because we started this in October.
Okay, and we haven't heard anything back.
No.
Okay, that's fine then. Just want to make sure.
Yeah, we actually did submit for the September meeting, but that ended up being canceled. So they've had a lot of time to look at it.
Okay. And they're, okay, and they haven't submitted anything at all.
We haven't heard anything from
Okay.
the conference.
You already asked, so it's a completely balanced site, nothing coming off.
Correct.
Yep, nothing being brought in, completely balanced.
There'll be, I think, a few hundred yards of material brought in for specific uses. There is some asphalt proposed at the driveway aprons, and then for the under drains, we're going to bring in washed crushed stone.
Okay.
But generally, for the bulk earthwork and surface treatment of the pad sites, that's all intended to be on-site
I
material.
understand, okay, thank you. This is just a development of a pad, there's no intended use. As in this.
Not at this point. This is one of the last, I believe, undeveloped sites in the business park. And when we're out there, there's a reason for that. It's a very tough property. So this is, the goal is just to make it desirable for somebody for a commercial use.
Okay. There was one, but yeah.
Yeah,
Just
it's
curious.
part of an approved subdivision that was never filed.
Oh, it is, okay.
I don't know, do you remember when that was from?
I don't remember, David, and I
Yeah.
talked about it. Do you remember?
That's
I
okay.
want to say
Mid-90s?
Some probably, yeah.
somewhere
Yeah.
between 20 and 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Because actually the way the lots are in the assessor's database, there's 515 is the old roadbed. That was proposed as part of that previous subdivision.
Oh, really? Okay.
Interesting.
Okay.
That's all
There's-
going away as part of this.
No, but there is some history there. Okay. Here's my question.
Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve or not approve?
I'll just note, if you can switch to the memo, Rich. Like I said, we reverted to Franklin, we haven't heard anything back. We went on the site walk. Dave's very thorough, he talked about the staging, and the sequencing. And I just asked that if someone makes a motion to approve it, that we leave the reading of all my notes, but include them as part of the motion. And the reason, as usual, would be the proposed DNS as sufficient to protect everything on the site.
So I move that IWWCC 23-05 be approved, taking into account all comments in the memo by staff, and in the recognition that the existing ENS controls remain adequate for the proposed scope of work.
There's a motion on the table, all in favor?
Aye.
Pete, aye.
Aye, unanimous, so moved.
Thank you for your time this evening.
Thanks.
Thank you. Other business, extension request 18-12A, 140 Antic Road, Hale Mill.
1 second. So this is the Hale Mill, which has been modified multiple times. Their original approval is expiring and they need a brief extension, which this letter states, because they're coming back. You're also gonna receive an application in a moment to modify it again next month. If Brandon Hanfield's on, if he has anything to add for you.
So can we remove the notice so we can actually read the notice?
Yeah, can you look out that? So Wetlands 7.9E allows you to extend it if work has been ongoing for some time. And they're coming in with a minor modification, which is actually favorable to the wetlands on the site. And we do less disturbance in the rear of the property.
So they're asking for a renewal and not specifically an extension. You're saying extension.
Well, technically it expired yesterday, but we haven't met in quite some time, so
It's a renewal of this one.
yeah.
Because we haven't, well, it was active.
correct?
Sorry about that, Dan. I was on another meeting.
Oh, no problem.
So it'd be more accurate to refer to it as renewal, not an extension.
Yes.
And the period of renewal,
That's up to you. If you want to, I recommend not doing it just to the next meeting. If you want to say 3 months, just in case,
No, knowing
that we can't.
Communication with them, and there's gonna be a new set of plans submitted. you think-
We already have it. I already have it.
Okay, so that's, should be suitable.
Yeah, we can receive it as well. I don't technically have a number for it yet, just because it'll be a new number. I don't think we're gonna do 1812M to a whatever. So we'll renew the 1812M2 is the last one. And then there'll be a new number assigned to the application that's you just got.
so I would move that IWWCC number 18-2 modification to designated as M2 be renewed for a period no more than 3 months.
For clarification, that was 18-12.
I didn't say 18-12, that's what I meant to say.
Okay.
18-12 M2.
M2.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Second.
All in favor? Chris, you get to vote on this one.
Aye.
Pete, aye.
Rick, aye. That's unanimous. Motion is passed. Violations?
None.
Adjournment. So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Pete, aye.
Unanimous. So moved. Thank you, everybody.